Do SpotOn's claims to be the top-rated GPS dog collar for accuracy and daily use justify its premium price tag? Or will it underperform when it matters most, leaving your investment totally unjustified? Let's see if SpotOn passes the sniff test. If you've been researching for a bit, you've probably noticed that SpotOn is widely considered the industry leader by pretty much everyone. It's also the most expensive, go figure, but there is a reason for that, and it's actually less pricey than people think once you factor everything in. Plus, I have a discount code which supports this channel at no extra cost, so I'll break all of that down later in the video. First, let's go through what you're actually buying when you pick up a SpotOn collar, and then I'll show you the results of my test. Inside the box, you'll find the collar, a charging station, and a setup card prompting you to download the app. Everything runs through the app. Fence building, activation, tracking, though tracking requires an optional subscription, which is important, and I'll circle back to it. Once you enter some basic info about your dog, you can jump right into fence creation. I recommend doing so in 2 steps. Step 1, create your fence by either walking your property, placing points manually, or using a mix of both. Step 2, and this is crucial, go outside and physically check that the boundary is exactly where you want it. The first mistake I made was assuming my drawn boundary was perfect. Make sure the warning vibration happens a few feet before any roads or unsafe areas. SpotOn uses a 3-step feedback system, so the chance of a dog blowing through the boundary is low, but only if you place it correctly. And that leads to the most important part. You have to do the training. A lot of negative comments you'll see online come from people who simply didn't set up or train their dog properly. Your dog doesn't automatically know what a beep means. You have to teach them using the in-app training program and some positive reinforcement. The tones, the patterns, the cues, your dog needs to learn what each one means before the collar can do its job. I recommend combining positive reinforcement with the collar's warning tones and spending an afternoon getting everything dialed in. Just note that SpotOn's customer service hours are limited on the weekends, so if you think you'll need help, plan your setup for a morning or a weekday. SpotOn stands out because of how much technology is actually packed into this collar. It doesn't rely on cell service to create or run a fence. Instead, it pulls from a huge network of global satellites and uses its own true location system to keep everything accurate. You can build unlimited fences of almost any shape or size, stack them on top of each other, carve out keep-out zones, and even set a home zone so your dog never gets false warnings indoors. The antenna is significantly larger than what most other collars use, and combined with modes like forest mode and off-grid mode, it stays impressively accurate even in areas where other collars struggle. And if you want tracking, you can unlock that with a subscription to get real-time updates, escape alerts, and the ability to turn on the collar's light, all without changing the containment performance. It's built tough too. Waterproof, long battery life, quick recharge, and a solid warranty, which all matters when you're dropping this kind of money on a fence system. That said, SpotOn doesn't try to do everything, and some competing collars lean into features SpotOn just doesn't offer. For example, you won't find activity or health tracking here, and there's no dedicated indoor beacons or Bluetooth ignore zones like what Halo and others use. But there's also no manual on-demand feedback button, something plenty of owners wish SpotOn had for quick beeps or vibrations during training. Other brands layer in structured encouragement cues, AI-assisted training, or celebrity-designed programs, and a few even support dual-frequency GPS for faster updates or better interference handling. And if you've got very small dogs or want multi-dog tracking handled from multiple phones at once, some other systems may fit those needs better. SpotOn's focus is precision fencing first, not piling on every feature under the sun. And depending on what you want, that's either a huge advantage or a couple of trade-offs to consider. But you can read all this on their website, so you're probably saying, "Hey Ben, do you actually recommend the collar?" First of all, do not take that tone with me. I'm here to help. But yes, great point. Let me walk you through exactly what I did to make sure I was choosing the right collar for my dog. The number one thing I wanted to test was SpotOn's big claim, that it stays accurate even under dense tree cover and in areas with terrible cell reception. For me, that was a total deal breaker. When you're trusting a single piece of technology to keep your dog safe, mostly accurate isn't good enough. You want 100% accuracy 100% of the time, because 99% still means there's one moment where something could go wrong. I mean, look at this absolute angel. Do you want anything to happen to her? Exactly. So I started looking for the perfect test location, somewhere with thick trees, weird terrain, and awful cell service. And by looking, I mean I remembered Brand Park in Burbank, which is gorgeous but absolutely notorious for having zero signal because it sits so high up in the mountains. That made it perfect for this kind of test. I brought a friend with me, and as you can see here, this spot couldn't have been better. Dense trees overhead, steep slopes, and a road just a few feet away. If the caller didn't get a signal, we'd know instantly, because we'd be walking straight toward the street. And dogs in streets? Yeah, they tend to have a pretty serious allergy to moving cars. So we ran the test. We walked toward the boundary again and again to see if we'd get the alert tones and the vibration exactly where we were supposed to. And honestly, I was shocked. In the best way. Every single time we approached the boundary, the pattern was identical. First the slow beeps, then the faster beeps, then the vibration. SpotOn nailed it every single run. And yes, I highly recommend leaving it on vibration. Static correction is optional, and you can test it if you want, but I personally don't love using static unless there's a real reason. But look at this. You can see how perfectly the boundary lined up with our little road flags. It looked like we were out there doing municipal construction, and after that, Sora had the time of her life, running around safely and confidently because she'd been trained properly and the boundary matched exactly where it needed to be, even in a tough environment. So, does SpotOn pass the sniff test? Absolutely, 100% with flying colors. Not literally because the color is gray, but you get the idea. It did exactly what it needed to do, and it did it consistently. And just for the record, on the exact same day, in the exact same spot, we tested one of the other top collars. Let's just say we ended up in the streets more than once. So this wasn't a fluke. After weeks of testing, I still haven't found a scenario where SpotOn failed the test, while several other collars absolutely did. So, should you buy one? Well, like I said, they do cost a pretty penny, less with my discount, but one thing that I found that is helpful to know is that it's one of the only GPS dog collars that works subscription free. That's right, tracking collars usually cost X amount per month, and if you do the math during your dog's lifetime, you could end up eventually paying double for a collar that works less well than SpotOn does. Like we said, the other subscription collars did not hold up in those tough conditions, so if you'd rather space the cost out, I'd just go with this one and consider some monthly financing if that's your biggest worry. Because SpotOn is currently the collar that has done the best on the sniff test. Thanks so much for watching. Remember, we do have that discount below if you want to grab yours, and we hope you enjoy your dog's new freedom.